We all know the Japanese superpower in electronics and advanced technologies, but now a new rise comes, as Japan has an extremely strong base of top military equipment and reliable allies like the United States. How so? Japan's neighbors are making a lot of noise, with China getting aggressive around the Senkaku Islands and in the South China Sea. Japan is stepping up its preparations to respond equally. Japan's self-defense forces commits to purchase up to 147 F-35s, produce the country's first aircraft carrier since World War II, or even furthermore develop the first 6th-generation fighter jet. Excited? So let's get into the top 5 most powerful Japanese military weapons. Number 1. Mitsubishi F-2 fighter. This fighter jet is an example of Japanese ingenuity. They took an existing and proven fighter from the US and improved and modified it beyond their wildest dreams to create the high-tech F-2. This aircraft was so electronically advanced when it first flew in 1995 that it had the first active electronically scanned array radar on a combat aircraft, the JAPG-1. This was significant because it received such a modern radar way before the ultra-advanced F-22 Raptor could receive one. The F-2 differs structurally from the original F-16. It has a longer and wider nose, larger air inlet, larger wing area, use of composite materials, and a 3-piece cockpit canopy. The F-2 has a glass cockpit with 3 large multifunction displays. It also has an integrated electronic warfare suite, and the weapons stations have been increased to 13, compared to 9 in F-16. The weapon load and the large range of weapons employed by the F-2 is impressive. It can carry a variety of anti-ship missiles on 4 hardpoints for offensive duties. Locally made air-to-air missiles, which have better performance characteristics than their American equivalents, are carried. The primary role of the F-16 is as a fighter, and they are frequently dispatched to escort nosy Russian bombers and recon aircraft. Whether the F-2 can be considered cost-effective with an estimated cost of over $120 million each, the drawback is the high cost per aircraft, which made it 4 times as expensive as an F-16 Block 52. This resulted in a reduction of order, and finally 94 aircraft were procured. Number 2. Soryu-Class Diesel-Electric Submarine. Japan has perhaps the most advanced non-nuclear attack submarines in the world. Displacing 4,100 tons submerged, the subs can make 13 knots on the surface and up to 20 knots submerged. They have a diving depth of 500 meters, which is probably the highest in its category. These boats are built with diesel-electric propulsion, but to perform with the effectiveness of nuclear-powered submarines. Soryus also have the largest armament capacity among diesel-electric subs, and it approaches the capacity of nuclear subs. The Soryu class is armed with 6 bow-mounted torpedo tubes, with a total of 20 Type 89 high-speed homing torpedoes and American-made sub-harpoon missiles. It also has a 2x3-inch underwater countermeasure launcher tube for launching of acoustic device countermeasures, which are used to deceive enemy sonar and torpedoes. Japan plans to eventually have 11 of these deadly submarines in service. The total procurement cost of the submarine is about $635 million. Australia will most likely be their first and largest export customer. In response to increased tensions with China, Japan decided to increase its own submarine force from 16 to 22. Japan's submarine fleet is particularly worrisome to China because of Beijing's traditional weakness in anti-submarine warfare. China has not practiced ASW in wartime and has been institutionally deficient in both skills and assets. Japan, on the other hand, has operated submarines for many decades. Japanese submarine crews are reportedly well-trained, on par with their American counterparts. Number 3. F-15J Fighter. Next up is the F-15J Air Superiority Fighter, the best of Japan's fighter force. The twin-engined F-15J is the Japanese version of the American F-15 Eagle, with minor differences and manufactured domestically by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. These are the largest fighters in the JASDF and have the longest range, which enables them to defend the Japanese island chain effectively. They have the ability to carry over 10 tons of bombs, missiles, or other equipment on their 3 main weapon stations and can carry AAMs on the remaining weapon stations. The F-15J is armed with the AAM-5 infrared homing missile, similar to the American Sidewinder missile, which it replaced. Complementing it will be the AAM-4B, a medium-ranged radar-guided missile and one of the few missiles in the world with an active array radar seeker. Active array radar missiles and the lock-on capability of radar-guided missiles, giving the F-15J a distinct advantage over Chinese adversaries. More than 200-strong fleet of the F-15J DJ fighters upgraded to Japan-specific Advanced Eagles at a cost of $4.5 billion. In order to keep these 30-plus-year-old planes competitive against the new generation of Chinese fighters, a dozen a year are upgraded with new electronic countermeasures, forward-looking infrared, and infrared search and track capability. The F-15J is the front line of Japan's military response to foreign military forces. In 2013, the ASDF performed 567 air intercepts of foreign aircraft approaching Japanese airspace, a new record. The single squadron of 20 F-15Js stationed on Okinawa, covering the Senkaku and Ryukyu Islands, will be reinforced with another squadron, and the possibility of stationing a small detachment on the island of Yonaguni is being studied. Although an aging design, the F-15J still represents a formidable challenge to the People's Liberation Army Air Force, and after more than 3 decades of service, is still arguably the equal of any operational Chinese fighter. Worldwide, the F-15 has a reputation as a particularly deadly fighter, with 104 aircraft kills and 0 losses. Number 4. The F-X 6th Generation Fighter. Recently, Japan Defense Minister Taro Kono unveiled a flight prototype for a 6th generation fighter called F-X or F-3. The F-X is planned to be a generation ahead of the F-35 and a solid rival for Chinese and Russian stealth fighters. The F-X will present advanced technologies, including remote drone control capabilities, a VR-style helmet-mounted display, and a radar that can double as a microwave weapon to fry enemy missiles. The F-X design concept is known to feature an integrated bonded structure made of composite materials, enabling the aircraft to decrease weight and to allow flexible basing from central Japanese islands. The fighter will present an advanced stealth, including electromagnetic wave absorbers, metamaterial application, and ionized gas to reduce radar cross-section. F-X will be designed to exchange sensor data with Japanese and US forces and have a capacity for at least 6 internally stowed weapons, including air-to-ground and anti-ship missiles. Though air-to-air will be its primary mission, each fighter jet will be capable of controlling up to 3 loyal wingman-style drones, using a shared basic design called the Combat Support Unmanned Aircraft. While the core design, including airframe and engine, has already been finalized, we will see the prototype in 2024, and a first flight to follow in 2028. This fighter wouldn't be an affordable one, as the cost per plane could easily exceed 20 billion yen or $179 million US, while the overall F-X program is expected to cost Japan another $45 billion. Number 5. Izumo-Class Multipurpose Vessel. The geographic nature of Japan makes it necessary to have a naval fleet which can transport a large number of troops and equipment to its various islands in case of hostilities. At 27,000 tons, fully loaded and more than 800 feet long, the Izumo-class helicopter destroyers are the largest naval vessels constructed by post-war Japan. The Izumo-class, like the previous smaller Hyuga-class, bear a strong resemblance to aircraft carriers. Technically speaking, they are amphibious assault ships or landing helicopter docks, as they have a large flat deck capable of operating helos and the capacity to carry 500 to 1,000 troops, tanks, and other vehicles that deploy them quickly by the means of a well deck. The Izumo is equipped with AESA radar, phalanx, and CRAM CIWS, bow-mounted sonar, and anti-torpedo countermeasures. Its main offensive weapon is its large aviation complement of transport and attack helicopters. The official figures state that 14 helicopters is its maximum capacity, but these have been vastly downplayed for political purposes, and its actual capacity is around 30 helicopters. The estimated cost of the vessels is reportedly around US $1.5 billion apiece. The F-35B could also operate off the Izumo and even Hyuga destroyers, but there would have to be extensive modifications, including support for fixed-wing aircraft and hardening of the flight deck to withstand high temperatures generated in vertical takeoff and landing. China fears the Izumo-Class because of its versatile platform. As an ASW platform, it could sweep and clear vast areas of Chinese submarines. As an amphibious platform, it provides the capability of Japan to place troops on the ground on remote islands. And as an ad hoc aircraft carrier, it could place a handful of stealthy 5th-generation fighter bombers on a mobile platform in the East China Sea. And that's all the time we have for today's video. Are you impressed by the Japanese superpower? Please give this video a like if you learned something new, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss another video from Front Cost. See you next time.